So you're playing in Waterdeep, or you're gonna start a game there soon. Trust me, do not schedule your next session until you hear everything that Ed Greenwood has to say about the Open Lord of the City of Splendors, Laeral Silverhand. Maybe you've been around since early editions, and hey, maybe you even paid wizards for one of these like me, Laeral Silverhand's Explorer's Kit. But I will bet my mustache that by the end of this video, you will have learned something about Laeral Silverhand and/or Waterdeep that you just simply did not know. Legit, though, this is all they give you on the Laeral Silverhand card from that kit. But it does come with these super cool D20s. Here, check it out. There they are. This is actually a two-part video series. This is part one, where Ed talks all about Laeral's origins and how she developed into the person that she is today in the late 1490s DR, and that includes her time with Elminster, becoming a Chosen of Mystra, and much more. But don't forget to watch video 2, which should be right about there. Definitely leave us a comment and let us know what you liked about this video, and tell us what your favorite thing is that you learned, if anything. And don't forget, subscribe for more weekly Realms lore videos. Here's Ed.
For those of you who have campaigns set in Waterdeep, or that often visit the City of Splendors, perhaps in the wake of running Waterdeep Dragon Heist, it's well worth shining the lore spotlight on the Lady Laeral, the Open Lord of Waterdeep, the formal ruler of the place, as she tends to take a look at adventurers of all stripes operating on her turf. So, let us begin with a very abbreviated tour of Laeral's life that made her into what she is now, and then wind up with what she's like if you meet her at your gaming table right now. So who is Laeral, anyway? Born Anna Manuel Laeral Silverhand in 765, the year of the cowl, and much later known as Laeral Silverhand Aronson, as in Kelvin's Aronson. Laeral is the fifth in birth order of the famous Seven Sisters, and a Chosen of Mystra. Many of her friends just call her Laer, and her true name is Faerun, for those of you who want to achieve power over Laeral. She's currently, yes, the Open Lord of Waterdeep, the spokeswoman for the Master Lords who rule that city, and has in the past been the Lady Mage of Waterdeep, Lady Blackstaff, although that's not an official title, that's just what almost all of the citizenry actually called her, Lady Blackstaff, and styled at various times the Witch Queen of Stornantor and the Witch Queen of the North. In the parlance of those days, back when she was Queen of Stornantor, Witch Queen was what folk called a queen who was powerful in arcane magic. It was spoken with respect by many, not just with fear or loathing. So, after her mother died, Laeral, along with her sisters Dove and Storm, was raised by Elminster under Mystra's orders. You can see a glimpse of this in my short story, Dark Talons Forbear Thee, in the 2005 anthology, The Best of the Realms 2, The Stories of Ed Greenwood. As they came of age and felt ready, Dove and Storm departed Elminster's care, but Laeral chose to stay with him as his apprentice, learning to become a wizard of power until she felt capable enough in magic and wise enough in its uses and quirks, as she put it, to fend for herself, whereupon she left life with Elminster for a career with the Harpers. Finding Harper life to be far too violent, far too filled with fellow Harpers who loved acting mysterious and important and who enjoyed keeping secrets from their fellow Harpers, regardless of the cost, and grieving the loss of several Harper friends in action, Laeral soon left the Harpers. Unbeknownst to her, she'd attracted the attention of the Chosen of Mystra, Kelvin Blackstaff Aronson, who kept an eye on her from a distance, and close up, too, assuming many different guises to do so to conceal his true identity from her. He was falling in love with her, but being very reluctant to accept this, and testing himself, as well as taking his measure of her repeatedly, to make sure this wasn't just a passing infatuation. Because, Kelvin really didn't want to become entangled with anybody personally, but he found himself falling for her. Laeral might have left the Harpers, but she hadn't abandoned most of their goals of the time, and one of them was to increase safe, defined as under the rule of law and protected by just armed lawkeepers, settled territory in the Sword Coast north. Going on adventures and patrols with like-minded adventurers from Waterdeep, Alm, and Tethir, she gained their support, and with them founded the Kingdom of Stornantor, building its capital of, guess what, Stornantor, from the fishing village of Stornall, in the present day is Port Last. She ascended the throne of Stornantor as its first ruling queen in the year of the Warrior's Rest, 806 DR, when she was 41. During her reign, which lasted until 841 DR, she sought to refound the ruined Ilusk, present-day Luskan, so as to form a shoreline of settled territory along the coastal trade road to Mirabar, linking Mirabar overland with Waterdeep and the Sword Coast beyond. Unbeknownst to her, a disguised Kelvin Blackstaff served in her court as her court mage Malik Aldhanak, and the two became very close until his death, which was faked by Kelvin so he could depart and deal with what he saw as the imminent and the dark effects of one of Alondo's prophecies. So this dark prophecy was coming, Kelvin had to deal with it, and he couldn't deal with it properly while he was stuck being the daily court mage of Stornantor, so he faked his own death. Shattered by Malik's demise, Laeral quit her court and spent 25 years wandering Stornantor, grieving him and seeking purpose as she adventured and aided her people. Her reign as Witch Queen of Stornantor ended in the year of the Hunted Elk, when she battled her sister Selune, who'd come looking to rule the queenless land that ambitious rival self-styled nobles were by then fighting over. The goddess Mystra manifested to them in mid-spell battle, basically to stop them destroying each other, revealed to them that they were sisters and her daughters, and offered them the mantles of Chosen to serve her. When both accepted, Mystra's servitors assumed mortal guises to spread the word that Laeral had fallen in battle, as Mystra and the goddess Zuth, who served Mystra, made it clear to Laeral that being a Chosen would mean constant travel and missions, and to serve properly and to protect the folk of Stornantor from reprisals, she could not continue to rule her realm. If you're enjoying this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon so you won't miss future videos. It takes time and money to make these things, and I dearly love doing them, and I would like to go on sharing the realms with you. So if you'd like to support me, please check out my Patreon and consider becoming a protector of the realms.
And don't forget to get your hands on some super sweet adventuring gear like this t-shirt here. I worked very hard on those wrinkles. Link in the description.
Being a Chosen for any of Mystra's daughters involves some mind sharing in which the goddess not only saw everything of their characters and knowledge, but also altered them, conferring powers upon them. Mystra gifted Laeral with the ability to understand and skillfully master the infusion of dweomers, magical auras, into items, understanding how materials withstood enchantment, and able by handling existing items to identify their powers and properties precisely, and protect herself in certain ways from harm by item magic by calling on the weave to ground energies and harmful effects. So if you put explosive runes on something to try and, do harm to somebody who touched it, and Laeral touched it, the explosive runes would go off, and she'd have momentary pain and channel their harmful energies into the weave to be dissipated and not be really truly harmed by them. Example. By touch, Laeral could divine the ability of a magic item without activating it, and this included holding curses and traps on items in abeyance. Mystra had granted her the power to deactivate magic item abilities or cause them to go awry into weld magic effects that she could aim or steer. Azuth then instructed Laeral in the making of simple magic items and encouraged her to experiment and craft her own, which she did, making hundreds of magic items down the centuries. Though she's made relatively few, since she first fell under the influence of the Crown of Horns. For about a year after becoming chosen, Laeral and Selûne adventured together under the guidance of the god Azuth, learning what was expected of them to carry out Mystra's greatest goal, which was to make magic available to all sentient beings across Toril, curbing the activities only of those individuals who sought to use their magic for tyranny and to deny magic to others, and the details of their new powers and abilities, Silver Fire and Weavework. Then Azuth set them free, as he put it, and encouraged them to forge their own lives when not carrying out missions. He, Mystra, and Mystra's servitors would communicate to them, and to do so separate from each other. They were also encouraged to conceal their chosen status as much as possible and avoid drawing attention to their longevity by adopting various assumed names and appearances. In other words, living successive ordinary mortal lives, unquote, rather than being Laeral and Selûne the Chosen for century after century. Finding she had a taste for it, Laeral chose to become a succession of adventurers, leaning on her chosen powers. For instance, using the weave to rapidly heal and purge infections and poisonings in herself, to become fearless and to enjoy life, both drinking and lovemaking. For centuries, she fought monsters and bandits and robber barons all over Faerun, with many different adventuring companions, exploring the plains and learning Draconic, Elvish, Giant, and Infernal beyond what Elminster had taught her to master spells. Eventually, in 1337, the year of the Wandering Maiden, as leader of the adventuring band known as the Nine, based nigh the Unicorn Run River in the High Forest, Laeral encountered an ancient Netherese artifact, the Crown of Horns. It had been planted for her to find by the Netherese lich Omvor the Undying, who sought to use the crown to influence her to marry him. However, when Laeral put the crown on, which she did intending to master its evil, her innate silver fire wrestled with the crown's powers, and she went mad. Omvor couldn't control Laeral, but the crown had the power of the god Merkel in it, and gradually tightened its hold on Laeral. She became its thrall, and acted for evil across the Sword Coast North, becoming known during this time as the Wild Woman and the Witch of the North. She used the stronghold of the Nine as her home, and either enslaved, drove away, or slew the rest of the Nine. Eventually, her depredations became damaging enough that Kelban, the Lord Mage of Waterdeep, was forced to act against her. Kelban took counsel with Mystra, was advised as to just how to conduct himself to defeat Laeral without destroying her or causing huge waves of wild magic to rend the weave and leave dead magic and wild magic chaos behind. And in the year of the Prince, 1357, he lured Laeral out into the High Forest and into a spell duel that did much damage to the landscape, though Mystra, Azuth, and Mystra's servitors invisibly and silently dampened much of the havoc. Kelban prevailed when he managed to sunder the crown, freeing Laeral from its control. He took her to his abode, Blackstaff Tower in Waterdeep, and nursed her back to health. She became his partner, the Lady Mage of Waterdeep, and dwelt in Blackstaff Tower. Waterdavians addressed her as Lady Aronson, although Kelban and Laeral never formally wed, and some folk in the city believed that Kelban had magically enslaved Laeral, something she never denied, as it led some foes of Kelban to try to ally with her, revealing their intentions. Laeral became chatelaine of Blackstaff Tower and ran the Blackstaff Academy she and Kelban founded to train all the would-be wizards who came seeking apprenticeships. She spent much of her days meeting socially with folk who sought her out, building friendships among the nobility and the guilds of Waterdeep and its independent merchants as well, so magic would be better accepted and trusted, and the Blackstaff would be seen as an ally rather than someone to be feared. She also met in secret with Harper agents, coordinating their activities in Waterdeep and across the Sword Coast North. And after the Harper schism, she co-ran the Moonstar's Harper offshoot with Kelvin. She acted as a covert diplomat for the Lord's Alliance and as a spy for the Lords of Waterdeep, using the disguise and persona of Irusul Eraneth when she was in Skullport. Her spying also extended to apprentices and former apprentices when they departed Blackstaff Tower, and she used spells and the weave to scry multiple individuals at once when she found it needful. Beyond these duties, Laeral would also study spells, attend feasts and revels in the city to network, and shop for clothes. She had time for all of these things because, as Azuth had taught her to draw on the weave for energy and to balance her body chemistry, she didn't need to sleep. Elminster and many Waterdavians have said that her chief contribution to peace, order, and good governance in Waterdeep and across the Sword Coast North was her influence over her partner, Kelvin. He was a law and order stickler with little patience for incompetence and none at all for corruption, and she calmed his rages and guided him in diplomacy to keep relationships cordial. As a team, they were far more effective diplomatically than the inflexible Blackstaff alone had been. Those interested in learning more of Laeral's time with Kelvin and their relocation to Rymansin in the High Moor and Kelvin's fate are directed to the novels Blackstaff and Blackstaff Tower by Stephen Shen. As revealed in my novel, The Herald, Laeral and her sister Illustrial then hid, disguised, among the Avowed, the monks, of Candlekeep until 1487 DR, the year of the Rune Lords Triumphant, when they battled the Lich Lord Larloch there. These days, as the realms approaches 1500 DR, there is a new Blackstaff, Vajra Safar, the seventh to hold the title. She and Laeral have had their differences, but they get along professionally now in Blackstaff Tower. And Laeral is no longer Lady Mage of Waterdeep, but rather its Open Lord, asked by the Masked Lords in late 1488 DR to take the post after they ousted the corrupt Dagult Neverember from the lordship. She accepted and took up office and residence in Mert's mansion, as he hadn't been seen since the spell plague and was presumed dead, in 1489 DR, the year of the warrior princess. The Masked Lords were divinely manipulated to make this offer by the goddess Mystra, who spoke directly to Laeral after Leruar failed and asked her to take up residence in Waterdeep and then to accept the open lordship that would soon be offered to her to prevent the Sword Coast North descending into strife, to curb tyrannical misuse of magic that would turn popular opinion against wielders of the art. And now we come to Laeral today. So, Laeral has mellowed, and she's very good at remaining calm and pleasant when most folk wouldn't. She has a lively sense of humor, and her eyes often dance with mirth. When she wants to, she can trade barbs and witticisms as glibly as any smart noble or dandy, but most of the time she doesn't want to. She prefers to be relaxed and friendly with all, so that most who deal with her soon regard her as a friend, but respect her when she must take stances and make decisions and judgments that they might regard as a betrayal of friendship in others. She's never haughty, but she's never servile either. She's tall, slender, and good-looking, with long, unbound hair that she can make move and even grasp things by silent will, as all of the Seven Sisters can. Her hair is metallic silver in hue, but far more than most of her sisters, she magically makes it appear to be other hues, usually dark brown, black, or even very dark blue most of the time. Laeral is chaotic good, and nowadays is a wizard of 19th level, though her chosen abilities, the Silver Fire, and her weave mastery make her more formidable. She retains her Mystra-given mastery over magic items. With centuries of practical experience in spellcasting under combat and other difficult situations, Laeral is mighty indeed, though her measured level has declined in recent times as she increasingly diverts weave energies to maintaining her aging body. Mystra and Azuth visit and assist her personally less often these days, as all of the gods distance themselves from mortal affairs. But this just returns Laeral to the independence and self-reliance of her centuries as a wandering adventurer. And that's where she's most comfortable. Laeral has always been good at remembering many things at once and maintaining her focus and attention, so that she can, for example, concentrate on maintaining one magic while composing letters and carrying on conversations and remembering specific runes and glyphs from memory all at the same time. She can also sing and dance, too. She's very organized, and so can accomplish more as Open Lord of Waterdeep than any dozen clerks and diplomats. Though she doesn't need to sleep, she maintains the fiction that she needs a high sun nap. High sun is noon in the realms, to win her solitude, in which she may sing, exercise, magically communicate with individuals far away to keep current, or slip away via the passages under Mirk's mansion, Castle Waterdeep, and Pirgurin's palace to Skullport to play Irusul Iranith once more. Her experience with the Crown of Horns has given her an understanding of evil natures that serves her well in negotiations with rogues of all sorts and sentient evil beings, and she often meets with such in Skullport. Above ground, in the city proper, Laeral devotes herself to improving personal relationships with guildmasters and with rising wannabe nobles and with the established nobles and in particular the masked lords, so that they are often steered into being accord with her without realizing they've been manipulated. She is busily building friendships to accumulate an ever-growing roster of Waterdavian ladies, from dockward trolls up to noble matriarchs, who will work with her eagerly to influence other residents of the deep, to better lives for all in the city, and friendly cordiality among citizens. Laeral regards the masked lords as too slow and too fractious to effectively see to the defense of their city against invasions, overt and stealthy, as well as attempts to poison the water supply or damage or alter the wards, so she remains vigilant against such threats. Outside the city, Laeral works patiently to try and get Alm, Luskan, and ultimately Cormyr and Westgate to join the Lord's Alliance. She also works against Zentrim and Red Wizard influence everywhere. Deceit irks Laeral, and this includes doppelgangers and other shapeshifters who use their abilities to prey on others, even if it's in their nature to do so. She is constantly vigilant against the unseen and others seeking to infiltrate the ranks of the masked lords, so she makes it her business to know exactly who each masked lord is and everything about them, from petty secrets to hobbies to circles of acquaintances, and keep a very close watch over them. What angers her more than aught else is spellcasters who use arcane magic to coerce, mind control, or deceive others, and she will tirelessly oppose such. She also believes all sentient folk should live free and will act against oppressors and slavers. Laeral has had 3 children. Mora, whose father is still NBA, by the way, who was conceived while she was in thrall to the Crown of Horns, as Kelvin believed, part of an attempt to use her for a breeding program by a fell and magically powerful entity, hint hint, and twins sired by Kelvin in 1373 DR, a son Kraelin, Aronson, and a daughter Kamalra. All are still alive, but currently out of contact with Laeral, though she's had only loving relationships with them. Mora is currently missing, fate unknown, as her husband Lamrul Moonflower of Evermeet searches for her. Kraelin and Kamalra have both made use of magical means for prolonging their lifespans, are capable wielders of the art, and have lives and careers largely NBA'd at present. Laeral owns an ever-growing wardrobe of superb, good-looking gowns and footwear, so she can dress up for feasts and revels, and these days for formal appearances as the Open Lord of Waterdeep. But she doesn't care if garments get damaged, and if she must run, will often kick off and discard in her wake shoes in favor of scampering barefoot. When being the Open Lord in public, she wears a silver rune-adorned overrobe. It's a special, augmented robe of the Archmagi, that, among other things, can fly by itself to and from various places as Laeral wills. Laeral has also developed a love for frog, snail, and toad ornaments that will fit in her large, as she's long-fingered, palm. She owns a set of jewels carved into frog and snail shape that magically orbit a favorite mushroom-shaped, curving upswept sides rising to a round cap-top bedside table, and these define home to her. She brought them to Mirt's mansion, where they are now, and has been heard to say that, where my little world circles, I am home. Laeral's true home is among the cut and thrust of sentient contact among folk who live together or close by each other, and in the friendships and achievements among them. She's not tired of her life or of service to Mystra, and is working towards a brighter future for Waterdeep, for the Sword Coast North, and for all of Toril in the years ahead. Unless you're actively evil, or a magical tyrant or deceiver, she wants to be your friend, and likely wouldn't mind being your lover. She's very loving. And that's the Lady Laeral. Hi, welcome back to Realmspeak, and this time around, we're gonna do this. Reghed, the Reghed Glacier, and the Reghed folk. Reghed rhymes with ledge, red. This is a name I coined when I was creating the realms about a decade before D&D. It's a glacier in the Sword Coast North that used to have a lot of, shall we say, glacier life on it, and recently has seemed far more lifeless. We're not sure why. Okay, the shorthand for playing Kelvin at your table is James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise, okay? Sure. But Laeral views Elminster as, oh, if Kelvin ever grows up, he might be Elminster.